It was an early wake-up call for the Marquette fans, but they are ready for this 11 a.m. local tip-off. It better be, because West Virginia shot them out of the building in last year's matchup in a record-setting performance. Today from the Bradley Center in Milwaukee, it's number 21 West Virginia. They're 13-2, and the Marquette Golden Eagles, they're 14-4. A Big East clash, and if it's anything like last year's, take a deep breath and get set for a dandy. Welcome to Milwaukee, everybody. Great to have you along. I'm Dave O'Brien, Coach Rick Majerus alongside. And Rick, when they encountered each other last year, West Virginia rained down 23 pointers, a Big East record, on the heads of Marquette. What kind of encounter do we look forward to today?
The same. It's still a game of contrasting styles. It's going to be a game of who blinks first. It's the spaced, high-wide, three-ball, backdoor offense of the Mountaineers versus the ball pressure, denial, deflect defense of Marquette. It's going to be a great contest, and you're going to enjoy the contrasting styles of play.
West Virginia returns at least one of those Bombardiers in Frank Young, a three-point specialist, and we spotlight Jarrell McNeil from Marquette.
A stealth three-point shooter who can really move well without the ball to get his shot, and a passionate defender who rebounds. He's got the total package, by far their best player. Jarrell McNeil, pound for pound, the best rebounder in the Big East. Without question, one or two in the Big East. Defensively, he can lock you up on the ball, and no one attacks the rack with the passion of this kid. It'll be his first star watch, and there's going to be many more to come.
To the starting lineups now, Dominic James leads Marquette in scoring. Usman Barrow in rebounding. Now for West Virginia, Rob Summers is one of two 7-footers John Beilein has. The other, Jamie Smolligan, can come off the bench. And the Mountaineers are one of the best defensive teams in America, holding opponents to 52 points per game. Just moments ago on the court here at the Bradley Center, they continue to celebrate 90 years of Marquette basketball. A great hoop legacy. And of course, when you think about Marquette, you have to think about the legendary coach, Al McGuire, a dear friend of yours, Rick Majerus. You were his assistant for so many years, through a national championship as well down in Atlanta. And everybody around this city still remembers Al McGuire so dearly and so fondly.
You know, and I reflect back, and we had the giant reunion of the 90 years of Marquette basketball last night. You know, it's interesting, and everyone expects a funny story now, but Coach used to always talk about it was the friends you made, and it was the education that you received, not the points that you scored so much, but it was what you did with your life and how you interacted with others, your discovery of self. And I'm kind of paraphrasing that. And then again, I regurgitated that to my own players as a coach. And that's what I remember most about Al in a setting like this. I can regale you with stories all night long that are somewhat funny.
And you have, by the way, in the couple of days we've been in town. Magnificent.
But seeing these 128 guys here that have come from literally all over the United States and some foreign countries to come back to a school where each of them have a legacy of their own and help to build a legacy of Marquette really speaks to the best of the college basketball experience, so much as opposed to the monetary pro ball that all these guys, when they get the pro ball, they're going to find out it's not that pie in the sky nirvana that they perceived it to be.
I know you get a little emotional, and the Marquette fans do too, watching these gentlemen walk off the court a little slower than they did back in the day. The hair's a little grayer, but it really is terrific when schools celebrate their legacy as the Marquette fans are this year.
Well, there's guys wearing yellow pants. That's Tommy Flynn, Al's first star. He's got yellow sweatpants out with his gray hair. He looks like an eccentric millionaire. Probably Trump or Rosie will get him on their shows soon.
Well, this past week marked the first week of the season in which Marquette was not ranked in the top 25 polls this season. They're trying to get back in. They fell out after back-to-back Big East losses to Providence and Syracuse. So Tom Crean, in his 8th season, has been averaging 20 wins a year in his first 7, looking to get back into that top 25. What a game they played last year with number 21 West Virginia. They match up again today. Maybe a very different style of battle inside the Bradley Center, but the lights are back up, and we're ready for this early tip-off here in Milwaukee. Great to have you along. West Virginia, the blue, wins the opening tip.
Well, they say Milwaukee's a shot in the beer town. They're all still having their Boilermakers. They'll be here for the first time out, though.
Dennis Nichols, an outstanding point guard, handing the ball off there. Alex Ruoff can shoot it from outside, a Big East academic all-star as well. Very bright young man. West Virginia working the ball around. Here's Young with the first one of the day. Off target. Marquette wants to run. Here comes Jarrell McNeil. Pushing it on that baseline. Banks it short. And you wonder with the 11 a.m. tip-off if it's going to be that kind of first half with a lot of misfiring.
There you saw Nichols, how well he takes care of the ball. He explored a fast break. It wasn't there. They matched up numerically, so he pulls it out.
Joe Alexander with it. Long one. That three-pointer will rattle in. He's an outstanding athlete. In fact, Beeline calls him the best athlete he's had at West Virginia.
That's not only at West Virginia, but at Canisius and Richmond as well. In his 15 years of college coaching, he definitively says there's Coach Beeline there.
They're taking a look to see if this was a three or if he had a toe on the line. Oh, it looked like he did.
Yes, he did.
And it will be ruled a two-pointer and not a three-pointer.
And that again there, that shot fake lateral dribble. A lot of guys like to shot fake and get penetration to a middle game. West Virginia is so three-ball oriented that they shot fake and dribble laterally.
So when they went to the monitor, they took away the three, made it a two. And we're more than a minute into the game. First foul here, and already West Virginia is without a three-pointer. You'd expect 4 or 5 the way they shot it last year. There's John Beeline in his 5th year, has a chance to go on an extended winning streak at West Virginia inside the Big East. If he can knock off Marquette today, the schedule gets pretty easy for him in the next several weeks.
This is going to be such a big game today.
Off that inbounds play, very cagey by Dominic James off the back of a teammate, picked it up and dropped it in.
Crafty and speaks to his strength.
Young, well outside the three-point line, up top to Summers. He swings it to Alexander, hit that two-pointer moments ago. West Virginia looking to work it around that perimeter.
They use time and space as well as anyone in the game. They keep this offense high and wide and then set you up to make a mistake.
Alexander putting it to the deck. Shot clock at 4. He's got to get it off. Out of bounds. Rushed it a little bit, perhaps, even with that shot clock going down. Let's go back to that inbounds play and the cagey Dominic James.
Well, here's the definition of crafty right here. We're right here. Off his back, takes it. Look at his strength to get separation. He knocks a 7-footer Summers, Dave, a foot back. That kid's really strong, compactly built like an NFL cornerback.
You know, I thought initially it was off Wesley Matthews' back. It was off Joe Alexander's back. So it was off one of the Mountaineers, not even an own teammate. 2-2 tie.
Well, a component of great defense is knowing the location of the ball. But you were so right about the cagey call with James.
Matthews out high. The 6'5" sophomore from Madison, Wisconsin. And now James looks around to Green to get a play.
You know what they're shocked about? That they're in man-to-man. West Virginia's been in man-to-man here, and their staple has been...
The lob to Matthews, and he stuffs it down.
And another loss of vision there by Summers. So 2 losses of vision on the ball accounted for the 2 Marquette layups. So
Marquette was a little bit confused, turned to Green to get a little more direction, and then beat that 1-3-1, or actually that was the man-to-man. With that lob play.
Great call and play execution by Marquette.
Summers handing off. Here's Nichols to launch, and he gets the three-pointer.
And just as well with a split post there, Marquette got confused on a switch.
Nichols hitting 40% from three-point land. He's been pretty deadly. James, one dribble in, floats it up, it's in and out. Tipped up and in by Marquette.
None other than Jarrell McNeil. I'm telling you, pound for pound, inch for inch, the best driver, defender, rebounder in the Big East. I make that statement definitively.
Sophomore out of Chicago, averaging about 15 points per game. Marquette with a 1-point advantage. Young way downtown.
What a great screen by Summers. He stood Matthews right up.
McNeil to drive. Great pass underneath the basket to Barrow.
And that was how they won the other night against Connecticut, taking the ball to the rack.
In that win over UConn, Marquette held the Huskies to 7 below their NCAA rebounding average as well. They out-rebounded UConn, which was maybe the surprise of the night.
Right now, Marquette's winning the energy game here, and that is reboundings, long balls, and alertness on defense.
Drew up, doubled up, threw it away, right to James. Dominic James, last year's Big East Rookie of the Year. McNeil to drive. He's so quick, but they're going to wave that off. That's going to be an offensive foul.
Nice pass by Dominic James there because he laid it off behind his back, but the height and the timing of the pass is what made it such a good pass. The crew here today, Tim Higgins, Joe Lindsay, and Jeff Clark.
Tom Crean in his 8th season at Marquette. You see what he's done against ranked opponents today, facing the number 21 West Virginia Mountaineers.
He's done a terrific job here. Of everyone since Coach McGuire, he's done the best, and myself included in that.
Well, he is 3 Marquette coaches removed from Rick Majerus, who was Marquette's head coach in the mid-'80s.
Now West Virginia, look at the ball movement and player movement, as well as the spacing and timing. Those are the 4 aspects of their offense that get you a good shot like that.
Alexander did get a good shot, did not get the roll. James quick to Barrow, and it's knocked away by Alexander, showing off some of that athleticism.
Yeah, and there's 2 components to a block shot: timing and bounce. And he's got them both.
Big component for West Virginia is their vaunted 1-3-1 zone. When we come back, a little dollhouse analysis. You want to stick around for this, trust me. Back in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, Coach Rick Majerus, Dave O'Brien with you. Marquette on top 8-5 over number 21 West Virginia. It is television. We love visual aids. Coach, let's get right to it. This is very unique as you size up how they play this.
You'll never see this on TV again. Here we got the 1-3-1 offense on the front lawn of the West Virginia house, the Mountaineers. But what we do to make this 1-3-1 zone so effective, we take the little guy right here and we move him down to the baseline. That's Ruoff. And then we move the big guy, Alexander, number 14, up here. And now as we do that, we've got a formidable 1-3-1.
Formidable.
With our point guard Rule on the baseline. We've got our big guy Alexander on top to deflect. And then what sets up our offense is the back door. We're coming in there with as many bounce passes as we can. And then once we've got them out on this back door and we soften them up, we're going to lift the roof of the house off. And what do we have inside? A bunch of threes.
A bunch of threes. Here they are. More threes than you can stand. By the way, the little guy in the pink onesie is not practicing hard. It's just not working.
Well, this is a house that Bayline built, and Ward, June, Beaver, and the Cleve are all here.
Oh, that was delightful. We've got about 100 4-year-olds lined up behind the booth position right now. Saying, what are you going to do now with the dollhouse, Coach? Can I take that home?
We're in touch with our inner selves.
That's the truth. And it's an 11 a.m. tip-off locally. 8-5 Marquette. And John Beilein, of course, done a great job with that defense. Number 2 in scoring defense in the country, holding opponents to 52 points per game with that 1-3-1.
And they're coming out man-to-man again. I just can't understand it. They're so good with the 1-3-1 and the 2-3, and Marquette has struggled against every zone it's faced. They free switch. Dominic James has got the mismatch.
James trying to bounce it for Lazar Hayward, but a little bit of miscommunication went behind him and a turnover.
And that's an indication of how good an athlete Alexander is, because James was reluctant to take that mismatch against the 6'8 Alexander because of his athletic ability.
And Marquette not the same team that killed opponents from three-point land last season. Not a very good shooting team. Swooping underneath Alexander. How about the long arms and that ability to catch the ball?
And right on call, just as we said. Marquette's out on the 3-ball, and then all of a sudden the back door hits you.
Neal, quick step to his right, threw it away. And the Mountaineers to push the pace a little bit. Now Ruoff will pull it up. He nearly lost it off to Nichols.
I love that Neal's heart. His head is a little bit turnover prone.
Young wide open in the corner. He's knocking down 44% of his triples and puts West Virginia on top 10-8.
So we saw the back door and the 3 out of our dollhouse, and now we're looking at the 1-3-1.
Barrow wriggling free. A foul on the play as Hayward hauled in the rebound. We go back to that back door you were talking about in the dollhouse presentation.
And Marquette's in its denial, deflect defensive mode. Here we see the overplay, the denial, no ball pressure. The most important thing that you need to do to stop the backdoor pass is pressure the passer.
Lazar Hayward at the line, the 6'6 freshman out of Buffalo, New York. Played last year at Notre Dame Prep in Massachusetts. We talked about the 2 7-footers, Coach, that West Virginia has. Jamie Smalligan, another one of them, is coming on now.
And the best shooter of the 2, transfer from Butler, and like all Butler guys, he knocks the 3-ball down. If you're going to front the post, if you're going to play overplay, deny pressure on a wing, you must have pressure on the passer.
Barrow yanking down the rebound, and another chance here for Marquette.
What a chess match, and what a terrific game so far.
McNeil, dribble drive, tossed it along the baseline, and it's going to be out off of West Virginia. And Smalling got a hand on it. This series tied 2-2. And last year, a wild one as West Virginia scored 104 points and knocked down 23 pointers, a Big East record, in knocking off Marquette.
Now they're back in a 1-3-1. They've given that man-to-man a look, and they're in 1-3-1.
Barrow turns, little hook shot, followed his own miss. He's been relentless on the offensive glass. McNeil got knocked down shooting a three.
Good call by the ref. Alexander shouldered him to the floor after the shot. This is a foolish foul, 28 feet from the rim. And it wasn't necessary.
So Jarrell McNeil will get 3. Scored 19 at Connecticut to lead Marquette to the victory this past week, ending a 31-game home winning streak for the Huskies. But the Golden Eagles of Marquette are a poor shooting team, 11th in the conference in field goals, 13th in three-point shooting, and dead last at the foul line at 62%.
Well, they had lost to 2 consecutive zone defenses, the vaunted Syracuse zone, of course. Went to Connecticut. UConn played them all man-to-man, mano-a-mano, and then suffered the consequences. And give Marquette a lot of credit for its energy. And, by the way, just stuck the Huskies on the glass big time. The leading rebounding team in the Big East prior to the Marquette's arrival at game.
That's why your presentation could be so important to keep in mind today because of that 1-3-1 zone that West Virginia employs. Providence and Syracuse, SU, of course, with their terrific 2-3, played zones that ate up Marquette. And they lost both of those games. Ruoff trying to toss it behind his back. Lost it to Matthews. Now Matthews trying to get free. Finally tied up. The possession arrow will take it the other way.
Nice defensive rotation there by Marquette to come over and help. But right now, as we come down the court again with West Virginia, watch how high and wide they are. And watch how extended into the passing lanes with overplay denial, looking for deflection and steal, Marquette is. Now they bring their 1-3-1 up and extend it on top, and because Alexander got that foul, they're going with Young on top. See, they protect Alexander, who usually has that top spot, by putting him in a different defensive spot.
Demir really loves that move where he hammers it to the deck, then jumps into the paint and looks for someone wide open. Didn't work that time. Young, the crowd crying for a travel. Ruoff in and out with a three-pointer. Well, that was inside the cylinder.
He's lost his shooting swagger.
James out to Matthews. All the way through. Tough move, but he's blocked and fouled on the play. He went strong to the rim. 13-11 to play here in the first half. And college basketball continues later today at ABC at 3:30 Eastern. We have the #1 team in the country in North Carolina taking on a dangerous team at Virginia Tech. And Oklahoma against Texas. Regional coverage on ABC. And Carolina, with Hansbrough leading the way with about 19 points and 8 rebounds per game. It's been a while since the Tar Heels have been the #1 ranked team in the country.
Hansbrough is by far the fastest runner in the country with the least ability maybe to beat that speed. He runs with his heart.
Matthews gets it to go. His dad, you may remember, Wes Matthews, spent a lot of years in the NBA, played 9 seasons in the association with 6 teams.
And the irony of that is he was a Wisconsin Badger from 60 miles up the road.
And his mom's a better athlete than either the father or the son. Barrow flipping it ahead to Matthews off the turnover. Now the alley-oop, and there's James there going to bank it in.
And just like his dad, he has that passing touch. I love Marquette's unselfishness.
Dominic James to finish. Marquette opening up a 6-point lead, their biggest of the day. Alexander, he can hit that three-pointer or he can go to the rim.
Every guy can hit a three-pointer on this team. He recruited to a system, and the system's predicated on the 3-ball to soften you up for the back door.
Alexander fouled with 12:29 remaining in the first half.
If you're going to play for John Beilein, there are certain requirements. You've got to be able to shoot the three. You've got to make good passing decisions, value the ball, and move efficiently and productively without the ball. They have no wasted movement. They're very economic in their movement without the ball.
Ruoff had trouble getting it in. In fact, did not. That's a 5-second violation. They turn it over. Marquette with the great pressure to force it.
Marquette has the energy advantage right now. They're come with the biggest edge. And that's surprising since West Virginia's coming off a loss.
And to your point, Marquette on a 7-0 run the last minute 43.
And attribute it to energy and effort.
Matthews driving to the foul line. The kick to McNeil. His pass was blocked out of bounds. Not a shot attempt. He was trying to dish it in.
He's not a good passing, McNeil. He's not a good passer. He just, it's a feel for the game passing. You can't coach passing.
David Cubion coming on to replace Jerome McNeil. Cubion from Maracaibo, Venezuela, and an outstanding shooter at about 45% beyond the three-point arc. A big reason he's in.
Their best shooter by far. Great call by you, Gabe. But he has a very low release. When we see him shoot, you'll see he releases it off his chest, almost like the old set shot.
Boy, Fitzgerald didn't touch anything with his long-distance shot. There's James to pick it off, intended for Ruoff. They'll bring it right back. Yeah, the 4-on-2. Here's Cubion, open to knock it down.
And with that low release, see, he had time and space. James did a good job of baiting the defense way into him.
19-10, Marquette. The crowd's starting to wake up finally here in Milwaukee.
I'd wake up too and cheer for this kind of an effort.
Ruoff held and fouled with 11:26 remaining. In the first half here at the Bradley Center, Marquette opening up a nice little 9-point lead. They've done it long range. They've also done it in transition with a fast break bucket by James. And for Student Spirit Week, how about some of the great venues we're going to be at? Kansas, Duke, North Carolina, Oklahoma State. You and I will be there for the Texas game. Indiana, Pitt, and Illinois, just to name several.
Got a lot of spirit here, too, by the Golden Eagles.
Now Marquette on a 10-0 run.
Watch Dominique James bait the defense here. See him draw him in? That's what constitutes a nice pass. Timing set knock. Watch Cubion's low release right here. He's got the ball low. He's Marquette's best shooter, but he spots up. Beautiful execution by James in terms of the pass, and a nice job by Kubiak of spotting up, showing you that your range is predicated on your legs. That good leg bend gives that little 5'10" guard NBA range.
Cubion now 23 for 50 beyond that three-point arc, giving Marquette an added lift and a 19-10 lead over number 21 West Virginia. What a week we've had at ESPN and our family of networks, where 15 of the top 25 teams are seen on our air on one of our channels. Ruoff partially blocked, or was he fouled? He was fouled on the play.
Foul shooting a three. And he had rushed the shot, too.
So Cubion picking up his first personal to send Ruoff to the line. The 6'6" sophomore from Spring Hill, Florida, to shoot.
That's one of the hazards of the overplay, deny, deflect defense. Sometimes you get those energetic fouls. But that's a product of being in the passing lanes and being so ball pressure oriented.
The Mountaineers trying to bounce back from Thursday's 61-58 loss at Notre Dame. Frank Young had an opportunity to tie that game, but never got a shot off before the buzzer. The Mountaineers had beaten UConn, Villanova, and St. John's before the Irish hung them with their first Big East loss. Ruoff very smooth at the line, makes it a 6-point game.
With Carter and company and the way Cruz is playing, you know, it's not surprising. I like Notre Dame this year a lot.
We'll get to see him up close a couple of times. Heading to South Bend shortly to see the Irish. Matthews putting it to the deck. Here's Dan Fitzgerald, another good shooter beyond the three-point arc for Marquette.
Now what Marquette's doing is they're gapping when it's appropriate and they're changing it when it's appropriate. See, gap dribbles there. Now they change without a gap dribble.
But Cubion threw it away.
That's unusual for him because he is a good point guard.
Young gives it up. The three-pointer off the mark, and that was such a big part of last year's story for West Virginia. So far from three-point land, they're just 2 for 6 today. James jumping into the paint, it's in and out.
I like what James did there because he's been reluctant to go to his middle game.
Young lines up a long one. Got it! Nothing but nets.
International three at least.
Gee whiz, Frank Young. The 6'5" senior, the lone returning starter from last year's Sweet 16 for West Virginia.
Part of his package is moving so well without the ball, and that's in transition. He really filled that lane.
Foul against West Virginia. And that will go against Deshaun Butler, well away from the basket. 19-16 Marquette. Inside the Bradley Center, the fans have been arriving throughout, the last half hour or so to see number 21 West Virginia take on their beloved Golden Eagles of Marquette. Coach Rick Majerus, former Marquette coach, Dave O'Brien alongside, and a pleasure to be with you. It's just great to be indoors because it's about 19 degrees outside. Matthews will bounce for McNeil.
Usually when they talk temperature here, they're talking about the frozen tundra.
That's right. Matthews too short with his longer, but McNeil is there to pluck away the rebound, and it's out of bounds off him. Crowd didn't like that call at all, but it goes against Tom Crean and company. West Virginia looking to draw even on this possession.
Methodical, late in the clock, third, fourth side of the floor. They break your defense down.
Young with a fadeaway two. Marquette crashing the glass. Fitzgerald came away with it.
Young has a total green light and he's earned it.
Off the back iron by McNeil. West Virginia in possession here. Looking for their 14th win of the season. Bonico will give it up. Smolligan swings to Young, whistling a foul away from the basketball. That'll go against Marquette.
They caught him bumping a cutter. You can't impute a cutter's progress to the rim.
Dwight Burke with a personal, his first. The sophomore from Brooklyn.
When he chucked that cutter going through underneath, you can't do that. NBA and college ball are really big on that.
Beeline exchanging his 7-footers now as Smolligan comes out, and Rob Summers, who started, the senior, comes back in. He was number 33 in blue. Alexander left open beyond three, off the front rim. Here comes Kumian pushing the tempo. McNeil driving the lane, left hand, flips it up and in.
Fearless. He loves to go to the rack.
Maybe because he is Marquette's best foul shooter, although that's not saying a whole lot, just 68%.
He's their best defender, their best rebounder.
Marquette on top here, 21-16.
They used to be called the Warriors, and that's a fitting title for him. Jerome McNeil is a warrior extraordinaire.
Butler tried to dump it inside to the big fella, Rob Summers, knocked out by Marquette. 9 seconds on a shot clock here for West Virginia.
Take a look at the efficiency of this drive right here. They change it. McNeil sees the seam, goes in and slides off. That's such an athletic play there to slide off that charge.
Missoula pulls up and fires. Too strong. Marquette with a board. McNeil, Matthews on the baseline. Back to McNeil in traffic. Alexander blocked him. No foul on the play.
Give it and take it away. When you got that kind of courage, sometimes you get taken away too.
Missoula drawing to contact. He'll go to the line to shoot here with 8:05 to go in the first half. McNeil got stuffed just moments ago in the paint.
Looked like all ball to me. I can't tell. It's the referee's angle though that counts.
So Missoula going to the line. Joe Alexander with that block on McNeil a couple of seconds ago. You pointed out that John Beeline said he's a great athlete. He's probably one of the top 4 or 5 college basketball players in terms of athleticism. He is off the charts. Brings to mind the question, what does make a great athlete and a great college basketball athlete?
Timing, bounce, lateral movement, hang time, being able to jump off of 2 feet, repeatedly jump, stay with the play. All those are what NBA guys look for. All those are what you're looking for in evaluating any athlete.
Hayward pulls up his dribble. Alexander comes in and commits the foul on Jerome McNeil. The foul against West Virginia. 21-18. Marquette ahead by 3 on the home court in Milwaukee. Dave, thanks. And how about a little love for the Friar forward, Herbert Hill? It's about time. He's averaging almost 17 points a game. Providence, a big surprise in the Big East, one of 2 unbeatens in the conference, along with Pitt. You don't have to tell Marquette about Hill. He dropped 23 and 9 and blocked 7 shots when Marquette was ranked number 15 in the country.
Imagine a kid yellow lining a stat sheet like that and playing in relative anonymity. But I'll tell you something, not only the shots he blocks, but the defensive disruption that he causes. This kid here is the real deal. I saw him against Marquette on tape, and he has an unbelievable presence on the court, and he gets them unselfishly.
And Hill has 9 already today, 9 points. That's a kick. 7:35 remaining here in the first half. Marquette has been leading virtually throughout, but now that lead has been trimmed to 3.
See how high up? Now they got Butler on the top of that zone, a freshman.
McNeil lost the handle on it. Tried to tear it away from Smallagin, the 7-footer. He's going to lose that battle every time, and he commits a foul as well.
See, sometimes that same heart and toughness is his own worst enemy because he believes he can take anybody on, and he's not afraid of anyone, anywhere.
Well, a lot of time left here in the first half. He's just picked up his 2nd foul. Burke has 2. Fitzgerald has 2 for Marquette. Alexander and Summers each have 2 for West Virginia, so foul trouble beginning to become a creeping issue here.
But Alexander's fouls will be discussed by Coach Beeline at halftime because they were so far out from the rim, and they weren't disruptive fouls or fouls. They were fouls of omission, not commission.
Smallagin, as you mentioned, the transfer from Butler, who sat out all of last season at the line here.
We had that view of Alexander in his 15 years of coaching at Canisius, and now here, coming from Richmond, calls him the best athlete he's ever coached.
But that outstanding athlete on the bench right now and a little bit of foul trouble. It's a 1-point game.
Alexander has great hang time in the air. He learns to go to the rim and slide off charges and move that ball to and finish. He's got another component of athleticism and strength. He has that sinewy, wiry strength, deceptive strength.
And only a sophomore, so plenty of time.
Oh, he's going to be a great player. He'll be all Big East his last 2 years for sure, not this one.
Young gets off the pass to Hayward. The swing to McNeil. Here's James threading right through for 2.
What he does best, change his speed, and he can go equally well with either hand, and he finishes with his left, as you saw in that clip.
James had 17 points and 4 assists in the win at UConn earlier in the week. Long distance 3. That's not going to go down, and here comes Marquette to push it. Kubion gives him good energy, as does James, of course.
West Virginia shooting the clock earlier, Dave, than usual. That'll be addressed at halftime, too.
Kubion, quick step, back out to James. Gave it up to McNeil. Tapped out of play and off of West Virginia. We're talking about Dominic James, who could be a blur at times.
Watch this. But he's a blur with a change of speed, Dave, and he can really juke you. And then we saw that nice finish with the left hand. Very few guys can go in that paint and put her down with both hands.
Kubion left open, launches. Got it! Three-pointer.
Their best three-point shooter.
Marquette's lead back up to 6.
After McNeil, he's also their toughest player.
Butler, Nichols swung through the paint, looking for the pass, didn't get it. Smith will travel with it. Violation, giving it back to the Golden Eagles of Marquette. Hey, the second part of our ESPN college basketball doubleheader continues at 2 Eastern. Number 6 Kansas facing the Iowa State Cyclones. Kansas is 14-2. They beat Oak State by 30 on Wednesday. Brandon Rush, the main go-to guy, is a late 14 points per game.
West Virginia is all about not turning the ball over, valuing the ball in the possession. Today that hasn't been the case, but credit Marquette's defense.
West Virginia nearly lost it. It's going to be a kick, and they'll keep possession here, but they have turned it over 7 times, and Marquette 7 times. Your point's a great one. West Virginia has turned it over very infrequently. Their opponents have kicked it back to them 100 more times than West Virginia has turned it over.
He recruits feel for the game. When you're going to be a Beeline player, he recruits feel for the game.
West Virginia trying to maintain here and will.
I hope the television screen can show the effort. These guys are playing at breakneck speed.
James right on cue with the theft and fouled as well. Right along the line. Boy, he is quick on quick. You have to watch with eyes behind your head to see where Dominic James is at all times.
Here we're going to see his active hands. He plays so well with his hands. He digs, he rakes, he deflects. That's a big part of the Marquette defensive package, ball pressure. They are very much steal deflection oriented.
And James has benefited with 4 steals already here in the first half. He goes to the line. Ruoff forcing him out of bounds, committed the foul. And there again, the free throw shooting has just been awful for Marquette.
As the perimeter shooting. I think you're going to see West Virginia with more zone in the second half. They may have come out man-to-man to throw him out of tempo or out of sync a little of sorts.
Smith up top to Young. Young, the top scorer for West Virginia at 14.5 per contest.
There you see Marquette free switching.
Butler with a nice spin, but he traveled. And another turnover for the Mountaineers. They're not used to this.
The switching's bothering. Marquette's doing a good job. They're switching 1 through 4, point guard through power forward, because they're all got athleticism, quickness, and they're all about the same size.
This Beeline's team number 7 in fewest turnovers in the country coming into today. Matthews knocked to the deck. He's pushed and fouled on the play.
This is a nice play by Green and Marquette. I hadn't seen this ball screens versus a 1-3-1. I like a coach who's imaginative and not afraid to take a chance. You know, Barrow was out there with the ball screen.
Deshaun Butler commits the foul, the freshman out of Newark, New Jersey. And that will send Matthews to the line. We talked about his great athletic family. Coach, you spent some time about his dad, Wes Matthews.
Beeline's about to get a technical there. I don't mean to interrupt you here. I'm so sorry. Go ahead, finish your point. But what?
No, I'm more interested in Beeline getting a technical.
I'll tell you what, his coach better save him right there.
Yeah.
Because he could get 2. He's not a guy to go after officials. He is all over it there. His assistants need to step in right now and bail him out.
Beeline not teed up there, but certainly teed off.
It's uncharacteristic for him to go off on officials like that.
What do you think he is that upset about? His team has been frustrated today. Another theft.
I got to tell you, I thought that was a foul, too. I don't see why he's upset, to tell you the truth.
James
other than it's 11 o'clock in the morning and 12 degrees. And, you know, he's on the road.
We're all in that boat. Pickles underneath. Oh, got a good look, but missed it. Burke goes down. He's hit and fouled on the play. 4:13 to go in the half. Just Burke a little shaken up.
Just like against the UConn Huskies, 1 shot. They're limiting West Virginia to 1 shot. Now they got Alexander on the bench and Summers on the bench because of foul trouble. But nevertheless, Marquette is commanding. They're allowing them 1 shot, and that's been a big part of West Virginia's offense because they're usually so spaced and spread. They have rebounding angles to the rim.
Alexander continuing to sit with a couple of fouls. He has been impressive in this first half here at the Bradley Center, but Marquette as a team a little more impressive.
Nice camera shot of Alexander. I don't like his body posture right there. He's got his head down, his knobbers down. You know, get in there and cheer for your teammates. Forget about those 2 fouls.
Dwight Burke at the line. Off the back iron, James with a great follow. No one picked him up, and he missed from close range. And back over to the Mountaineers it goes.
The size bothered him.
But Marquette just doesn't shoot it well. 62% at the line, 44% from the field, 31% from 3. This is not a team of marksmen. They are forcing a lot of turnovers, uncharacteristic of the Mountaineers to be doing that. James again taking that baseline. He's fouled on the deck with 3:55 to go before halftime. Marquette preserving a 6-point advantage here at the Bradley Center. Speaking of unpleasantness, thank you, Dave. Marquette with a 26-20 lead, 3:55 left in the half as we go inside the play presented by Infinity. To switch or not to switch, Coach?
Well, now that that philosophy major's out of the way, take a look at this here. Marquette switching their 1, 2, and 3 men, and now they don't switch. Barrow's a 5-man out there, number 41, so there's no switch there. But here we see a switch. They come together, they talk it, they touch it, and they switch it because they're of equal size. And then that switch, as they seal it off, prevents them from the drive. That was a terrific job by Marquette. They've got a nice game plan.
Marquette really crashing that glass. They have out-rebounded West Virginia 19-8. That was a trend you picked up on in the first couple of minutes.
Just as they did with the Huskies the other night. But I think that gentleman we had on there at the wing earlier may have been a philosophy professor.
I think he's on leave. I think it's time for a sabbatical. Dominic James going to the line here, the sophomore from Richmond, Indiana.
I may be jealous of the hair.
But that's it.
Yeah. Who knows what lurks under that?
Yeah. James averaging 16 a game, Marquette's top scorer. Coming in with a 14-4 record overall. They opened the season winning 8 in a row and then lost 2 of their next 3. That foul will go against West Virginia in a rebounding action. That'll go against number 33, Rob Summers. And Summers is now in a little bit of trouble in his 3rd personal. Let's see if he comes out right away. He will. As I should say, if John Beilein goes to his bench right now, Tom Crean staying with what he has on the court.
Marquette's been quicker to the loose ball, the long rebound. It's kind of a staple of their defense. Beilein's got his head down over there. He's kind of perplexed, perturbed at the refs. And his players are going to get a what for at halftime because the hustle board is all Marquette right now.
So Summers indeed hits the bench with his 3rd. Lott with another one coming. He's got that one-handed shot. He removes the left hand from the free throw, but he got it to go. And again, it's a 9-point lead for Marquette.
2-on-2 press here. They're trying to speed West Virginia up and get them out of tempo, out of rhythm.
James with the foul at midcourt, trying to pick it away from Nichols. 3:43 to go in the half.
Marquette reminds me of those old Kentucky teams Pitino used to coach. Sometimes they're so active with their hands and they're hitting you so much, the referees don't know what to call. But if you do that early and establish the tempo, sometimes you can get away with a little extra contact.
So Darius Nichols to the line, the 6'2 junior for West Virginia. Pretty sweet on that one. And he has had an outstanding season. 70 assists coming in. Just 19 turnovers in 15 games. Puts him 10 points a game. He's also their best foul shooter at 89%. So Nichols inches West Virginia a little bit closer, down 7. Fitzgerald looking for the open man, plucked away by the Mountaineers. There comes Young, and he's fouled by Fitzgerald.
Now that was a good foul by Fitzgerald because he didn't want him to get the layup, and nevertheless he did a good job making sure it wasn't a 3-point play. Fitzgerald goes airborne here. They get in the passing lane. That's the danger of throwing it across the face of the 1-3-1 zone because you've got to remember they've got 3 guys aligned across the free throw line. That's your most apparent turnover to happen to you, and Fitzgerald gave it to him. He also telegraphed it with his eyes, by the way. Good off the ball defenders in zones or in man-to-man help side defenders. They read the ball's eyes. They read the eyes of, the ball handler, the passer.
Kubion coming back onto the floor because Fitzgerald just picked up his 3rd personal. I think foul trouble is going to be a big issue down the stretch of this one.
Oh, absolutely. And foul shooting for Marquette.
James with the catch and shoot. Buries it. 3-pointer.
He needed that for confidence. When they lost the Badgers here, they were 3 for 16 from 3, 2 for 15, and then someone hit a desperation. Matter of fact, it was James hit a desperation 3 at the buzzer.
Mazzulla. Ruoff inside of the big fella. Smallingen turns and knocks it down.
How pretty was that pick and roll? It was a pick, repick, and a roll.
Matthews, good bounce to Lott in traffic. Could not convert. Kubion nearly stole it. Matthews nearly stole it. West Virginia somehow still has it. Mazzulla follows his own miss and lays it in.
He is a high-energy guy, too. Both point guards are lefty.
Mazzulla out of Johnston, Rhode Island.
Mazzulla and Nichols are both left-handers.
A tie-up, and the possession arrow will take it in the opposite direction for West Virginia. College basketball continues later today at ABC at 3:30. See either top-ranked North Carolina taking on Virginia Tech, or Big 12 action. It's Oklahoma facing the Texas Longhorns. Kevin Durant for Texas averaging just under 24 points and 11 rebounds a game. Did you see Mike Anderson, the Missouri coach, said after he just crushed him this week, he said it's time for him to move on to the next league. That will be a charge, an offensive foul against West Virginia.
Was that what he's handing the agent's telephone numbers?
He said, yeah, enough is enough with this. It's time to go on to the NBA, my man.
Yeah, here, call these guys. Call Dave Falk. He did Jordan's ready to do you.
Virginia with a dozen turnovers. Boy, that's a headline, as well as they take care of the basketball. And it's the big reason Marquette has the lead here under 2 minutes to go and a half.
And the turnovers are Marquette defensive based. Marquette's defense has been very productive.
Moving on, nearly stripped. Shot clock down to 7 as James fires again. Short this time.
We talked about Matthews' dad at Wisconsin. He's a great scorer. His son's a terrific passer.
Pull-up pop by Nichols, not there for him. Matthews with a nice one-handed rebound. Look at him move up the court. James feeds the foul as well, and Burke will go to the line.
The feed was outstanding, but I'll tell you what, the running to the floor and the transition to fill a lane was even better. Take a look at this right here. Let him fill that lane coming in. Here you see it again. You saw James with the peripheral vision. Burke is off the bench, hadn't been playing much, had a good game against UConn, got his confidence up and understood, hey, let me just run the floor, rebound, and defend. Something good will happen to me.
Beautifully run fast break by Marquette, trying to cap it with a three-point play, and they do. Marquette well out in front, and fast break points have outscored West Virginia in that category, 11-3.
Right now, it's important for Marquette not to give up a three ball. Or a backdoor.
And Ruoff does exactly that as he lays it in. Bowinkle with the outstanding pass there. We're tempted from our generation to say Bullwinkle, but it's Bowinkle.
Okay.
Matthews with the kick. James will try it again. Got another one, a three. He's hit 2 of his last 3.
There's nothing like the mojo of confidence.
38-30 Marquette. West Virginia trying to answer from downtown. James hit the deck. So did Burke. 2 Marquette players on the court, and Kubion will hold it up and wait for them to join it.
The energy, the hustle board has been all Marquette, and that usually doesn't happen to West Virginia.
Marquette playing with terrific energy here in the first half, as you point out, particularly on the defensive end.
And West Virginia playing quite a bit of man-to-man, but Marquette's defense and rebounding.
Burke really establishing himself. He draws the foul and will go to the line with 25 seconds to go in the half.
West Virginia may have gotten a little bit complacent and read their headlines, and a young team like that, maybe not knowing how to handle prosperity.
West Virginia has already committed 14 fouls in the first half.
And Dave, 7 of those fouls have been so far out from the rim and of non-consequential nature. It wasn't where they got called for trying to get a charge and they got called for a blocking foul or whatever. These were fouls like Alexander's 2, where they were big arm motions, not necessary at the time.
Marquette doing okay at the line. They're going to the line frequently, 11 out of 16. They get 12 of 17, and not even at the half yet.
It's been all the Golden Eagles here this half.
The crowd inside the Bradley Center on their feet. They've loved the effort by the Marquette Golden Eagles against the number 21 team in the country.
Tom Crean and his staff have done a good job of getting ready to play a difficult game.
2 seconds to shoot. They have to launch the long one. Matthews fires well short, but Marquette made plenty. And West Virginia, averaging 11 turnovers per game, has already turned it over 12 times here today. Dominic James with 13 points and 5 steals to lead the way. And Marquette leads by 10 at halftime. As we go to the studio, Dave Revson and Doug Gottlieb, the UPS halftime report. Marquette's been having a lot of fun inside the dollhouse here today. We're the Bradley Center, leading West Virginia 40-30 at the break. Dave O'Brien and Coach Rick Majerus with you. And Rick, it's really stunning to see a team that takes care of the ball as well as West Virginia turn it over already 13 times in one half.
Well, what's accounted for that is Marquette has sped the game up. They've done it with the press, they've done it with their extended defenses, and they've done it with their ball pressure. Also, West Virginia's got no second shots. But in addition to that, how about West Virginia has 13 turnovers in the first half? That's well more than the average for a game. 14 fouls. Alexander has 2. Butler has 2. They're 2 best defenders. And Summers has 3. And they're only 3 for 11 from three-point range because they're rushing the shot. And a lot of this is attributed to the Marquette defense.
Yeah, Dominic James has been the real beneficiary. He already has 5 steals. That ties a career high. He had 13 points through the first half. Marquette opening up the second half by turning it over quickly. And here's Frank Young. He could not dunk it down. He lost the handle. Another mental lapse.
No question about it. If you're going to throw that baby down, you got to come like you're flushing it down the face of the world. He put it up there like it was a lollipop.
Boy, it's been that kind of day for number 21 West Virginia, and they are in trouble in the Big East here today. Marquette starting the second half like they ended the first, and it's Hayward, a three-pointer from the corner.
The freshman had not been shooting well outside. Now it's confidence, and it's infectious. When Dominic James hits those 2 threes, they all feel a little bit better about life.
Boy, Alexander dumping off a pass that struck Jamie Smalling in a 7-footer on the back of the head.
If it's been long, loose on the floor, it's been Marquette's.
Barrow finishing it off, and Beeline has no clue right now what's going on with his team.
And Young's layup was particularly devastating because the players see their leader, their most veteran player, their most seasoned performer, missed that layup.
Alexander has his jump shot rim out. He sat for long portions of the first half in some foul trouble, playing with 2. James pulls up. The floater is short. West Virginia controlling the board here, but down by 15 points on an enemy court. Ruoff pulls up and pops, and it's too long.
That's that rush 3 I was talking about.
McNeil rushed and lost it.
And it's rushed because they're anticipating the transition D to filter back in.
Nichols in tight, missed it. Rebound fought for Young controls. The Mountaineers trying to cut into a 15-point deficit. Small again opening up at the center spot in the second half for Beeline. Alexander with a nice fake. Takes to the lane, lays it up. It rolls off. Smalling taps it in.
He's a good outside-in rebounder, but the spacing on their offense usually enables them to do that.
One thing to keep in mind, too, is how many times Marquette went to the line in the first half? 17 times. More important than that, they hit 12 of them.
And equally as important, Marquette has 10 offensive rebounds in the first half, and West Virginia has 1.
Beeline had some problems with Tim Higgins, Joe Lindsay, and Jeff Clark. Very good officiating crew. As you mentioned, Beeline is not a guy who barks at referees very often, but he almost had a technical foul in the first half.
And when we asked the ref about it at halftime, he did the political thing. He wouldn't say a word about it.
Yeah, Jeff Clark said, well, you know, it's typical coach stuff. 45-32 here, Marquette. As you look at Marquette shooting today as opposed to the rest of the season, where they have been one of the worst shooting teams in the Big East.
And as I said, shooting on the foul line and for the perimeter is infectious. Where Dominic James hit that, I think it spreads the confidence throughout the team. And then you saw Lazar Hayward take that one. 3-ball, the freshman.
Young inside to Summers, gets that one to go from close range. Rob Summers with the bucket.
Every time they play in the half court, later in the clock to the second or third side of the floor, something good happens for West Virginia.
And something good happening here with Usman Barrow down low to lay it up and in. Nobody guarded him, 47-34.
He's splitting that alley between the baseline and under the rim, where you lose vision. If you're not alert, you've got to back up. Smart move and opportunistic play by Usman.
So Marquette continues to play sharp here in the early minutes of the second half. They had a 10-point lead at the break. Ruoff off the screen, fades away, can't get it to go. McNeil quick to the ball, ahead to Matthews. Matthews on Nichols, banks it in, a pretty move for 2.
That resembled his father, the former Badger and 9-year NBA player.
Yeah, I'm going to rave about his mom Pam a little bit, too. She was a two-sport star in Wisconsin, and she was recently inducted into the Wisconsin Sports Hall of Fame. That was back in September. But everybody in his family can play.
There was no WNBA back then, was there?
No, there was not. Off high, Alexander. Hayward guarding him. Hayward taps it out of bounds. 12 seconds to shoot the ball here for West Virginia.
Take a look at Matthews filling the lane right here. Take it to rim. Nice crossover dribble with no fear of getting hit.
Marquette up 15, and Dominic James has been right in the middle of it. Coach, let's go back to the future. He reminds you of Jameer Nelson, does he not, of Orlando in the NBA?
Very much so. When you're looking at one, shades of the other come up. Here you see the body strength, creating contact to the rim, fearless to the glass. Change of hands, change of speed, crossover dribble, sees the seam and takes it. The jumper off the dribble. You know, if you're right now, when you're looking at Dominic James, I see Jameer Nelson on the come. What he's got to do, though, is get his three ball down and his perimeter shooting like Jameer. He has everything else like Jameer.
James, a sophomore. Of course, Nelson St. Joe's consensus National Player of the Year in 03 and 04. A marvelous college player. James just tossed that one out of bounds. He thought it might have been deflected.
This seems a staple of television. We say something good about someone, or comment on a good foul shooter, and invariably they have a turnover, miss a free throw on the next possession.
I do it all the time in baseball. I build up a guy at the plate and he whiffs 4 times. It's bound to happen. Summers with the swing to Alexander. Drew a nice fake, moving to his right, got himself open for a pretty 15-footer.
Take the middle game, you know. Their offense is so much predicated on getting into the rack on the back door or the three ball. You don't want to take tough twos, but you got to take opportunistic twos. When they're pressing out there, you got to go middle game.
Well, West Virginia is not the three-point shooting team that carved up Marquette with those 20 triples last year. Fitzgerald lost it. And Ruoff is there for the rebound. Remember, they did lose 4 starters from last year's team, which went to the Sweet 16, including Kevin Pittsnogle and J.D. Collins. That might be more like it in the second half under the basket. And Summers is there for 2. And here comes West Virginia.
With their 1-3-1 extended.
Pull up Pop McNeil, and he drains it.
They're going 2-1-2 against it, and they're putting a ball handler passer in the middle of the zone.
McNeil with 9 points and 7 rebounds, and he's 6'3".
See, they're driving the big on that. We'll show it in a little bit.
Alexander bouncing for Nichols, and he knocks down that one. A 2-pointer. Of course, West Virginia can't simply trade baskets with Marquette. They're down 11. Barrow calling for it underneath, but the foul came before the shot to go against West Virginia with 14 minutes and 11 seconds to go.
Here we see West Virginia in that 1-3-1. Marquette goes 2-on-2 against it. Puts McNeil, a ball handler passer, in the middle of it, and he creates an opportunity to shoot by driving on the big. And as a 7-footer, 6'10" guy tries to recover in the middle, he has an opportunity to get a clear shot. Good strategy. West Virginia is the mother of all preparations. Credit Marquette today by being extraordinarily well prepared to defend, to handle a 1-3-1, and to go against the backdoor and the three-ball offense.
And the inbound plays, as well as the quick hands for Marquette, really marked the day. Matthews fouled by Young. He'll go to the line to shoot here.
One thing that this game leads me to is West Virginia played at Duquesne in front of like 1,200 people, okay? Probably 600 Mountaineers went up for the game, 75 miles away. Then they go to Notre Dame, their first true road game. Now they're here on the road. I've always believed you want to schedule at least 1, if not 2. And I think Pitt, having played at Oklahoma State and against Tennessee early in the year, will speak to that strength of schedule deal, because it becomes apparent when you go on the road and you have to win. They haven't had to beat anyone tough on the road, and so far, if this game holds true to form, they won't.
Play a challenging team on the road before your conference play.
Absolutely. can't always play on mother perpetual help, a directional school. You know, you got to try to play someone of substance to get a real sense of what a road game is like, especially with only four starters gone from last
year. Well, indeed, you mentioned Pitt. We'll see them later tonight, 9 o'clock against Georgetown. That's at Pitt. Weaving his way in, Butler, but takes the contact. He's fouled by Matthews. 54-40, and Marquette with a 14-point lead, looking very comfortable right now.
All right, Damon, put you on the spot. The duel of Levon Kendall and Aaron Gray versus Green, who may be the best Big East best passer at the elbow, versus Green and Hibbert. Who are you picking?
Well, you and I have seen the big guys for Pitt a couple of times. More recently, I like Hibbert a lot. I think he does a lot of things terribly well, but I'm going with the Pitt big people in that.
Me too.
And on their home court.
Yeah, the home court's big. And Gray's strength. That's a good call by you.
Butler at the line here. And West Virginia trying to cut into that lead here inside the Bradley Center. Georgetown and Pitt, and a very good big person matchup.
Hibbert, somewhat of a shot blocker, lacks strength. Gray, very strong, getting deep post catches. I think his strength enables him to post up where he wants to and get deep in the paint. I think Hibbert should look perhaps to think about fronting him. If he gets angled, schools out.
Got that one. West Virginia, when they do get to the line, well, they have been very, very good. In fact, they've been perfect at 13 for 13.
And they're going back man-to-man. Marquette has hurt him with the 2-1-2 deployment and the attack of the small man in the middle of his own. So now they go man. There you see Marquette switching. Whenever they can switch and they feel they don't get a disadvantage, like right there again, 2 switches within the possession, West Virginia does.
McNeil trying to shovel it underneath the basket. 7 seconds on the shot clock and a timeout here for Marquette.
Marquette's won a big statistic here. First to the floor.
First to the floor and number 1 on the scoreboard so far, leading 54-42. Marquette in the lead, 54-42. The man in the middle there is Milwaukee Brewers ace Ben Sheets, one of the best pitchers in baseball. Not the only celebrity inside the building here today at the Bradley Center to watch West Virginia, ranked number 21 against Marquette. How about Jay Billis? Or at least the disembodied floating head of Jay Billis. On hand to take in the festivities. Another good inbounds play, but McNeil got jammed. No foul on that play as he is stuck from behind. The crowd wanted a turnover on Wolf. They wanted a carry there, a foul instead against Marquette with 12:58 on the clock.
And it was, but I think when it was done so slow, not to gain an advantage, was by a guy who can't handle a ball. The rest were surprised. They certainly weren't looking for it.
Wesley Matthews getting back in for Marquette. McNeil will step out for a moment. And 3 fouls, by the way, on McNeil. The reason he's sitting right now. West Virginia checks in. Butler left open beyond the arc. Too long with it. Burke controls the rebound. James tiptoeing along the line. That's going to be off Nichols. Well played by James as he fired it behind his back off Nichols.
What a smart play. Look at his balance. He has the presence of mind. He knows his location on the court. He understands what West Virginia usually understands, the value of the possession, the ball.
James, such a savvy youngster and only a sophomore, last year's Big East Rookie of the Year. Averaged 15 a game last season, 16 points a game in a sophomore campaign.
From Richmond, Indiana, played against Chrysler Newcastle and the Wigwam down in Anderson, maybe the best high school league in America.
Shot clock down to 6. James, no foul, it was blocked. Looks like he had trouble getting it away as well. Here's Young to drain the 3. Frank Young, who is hitting 44% beyond the arc. That's been such a big part of West Virginia's attack over the years.
Plenty of time left here.
But right now, the crowd inside the Bradley Center seems to be resting after their brunch, which they got on the way to the arena today. This game starting at 11 a.m. local. James got a little too tricky for his own good and just lost it. And now a silly foul on Joe Alexander. Foul against Dominic James. 11:46 left. Marquette 54, West Virginia 45. Dave, thank you. Doug and Tom as well. 54-45. Marquette with the lead with a little less than 12 minutes to play here in the second half. Rick Majerus, what does West Virginia have to do from here on out to get back in it?
Take care of the ball. Characteristically, they've been really ball strong and they're very possession oriented. Not today. They got to get the 3 ball later in the clock where they have more time and space to shoot it. And then they must block out. Marquette is killing them on the offensive glass, getting second and third shots.
Alexander bumping on Fitzgerald. Fitzgerald denying him all the way, but Fitzgerald got drilled.
Tell you what, when they don't call that a foul, you know it's a physical game right there. Take a look at this body. Here's the hustle board right here, and it's all Marquette. 15-3 in fast break points. Blocks are more an indication of athletic ability, but how about offensive rebounds on a 10-3 disparity for the Mountaineers, and steals are the same, but I would give Marquette the edge almost 3-1 in deflections.
And all those deflections and steals for Marquette. Timeout, Beeline and West Virginia. He's barking at Alexander right now. Beeline has not had a fun day here in Milwaukee. Marquette with the lead.
You know so much about me. Honey, you should try this.
No, I don't think that's a good idea.
Oh, come on.
Thank you.
.54-45, Marquette in the lead against the number 21 ranked team in the country. College basketball continues later today on ABC at 3:30. Regional coverage, you can see either top-ranked North Carolina, the Tar Heels taking on Virginia Tech, or Big 12 action as the Oklahoma Sooners face the Texas Longhorns. On ESPN and our family of networks throughout the week, you will have seen 15 of the top 25 ranked teams in America and 7 of the top 10. Alexander. Fitzgerald has recovered after the non-foul physical contact. Alexander misfiring. He also has not enjoyed his stop in Milwaukee today. And Marquette with the ball again, leading it by 9. James had it partially deflected. They swing back up top for Matthews.
Matthews is so poised and so composed for a 3-man. He really is the point forward. It was in this very arena right here where Nelly initiated that Paul Pressey point forward offense, and he would have loved to have Wes Matthews. I'll tell you that in that position.
Yeah, you can see some of that family background really paying off for him. Shot clock at 5. James leaning in. Barrow there, follows and misses. And a foul underneath.
This man playing with great heart. Wore a Yankees hat. I asked him who Babe Ruth was. He didn't know.
Usman Barrow?
Yeah.
Well, he is from Dakar, Senegal. Turned in a man-like effort against Connecticut on Wednesday. 17 points and 13 rebounds.
Speaks 5 languages, and the rebounding language is going to become 6 soon. He did a great job against Connecticut, got confidence. He's such a conscientious kid. Sometimes he's his own worst enemy. He tries too hard.
You know, he also came up huge in that November victory over Duke when he shut down Josh McRoberts in the second half.
And that was, I tell you, I'm a big McRoberts fan. A lot of guys say he dribbles too much in the post. I'm here to tell you, I like McRoberts.
Barrow, the junior, off the back iron. West Virginia down 10 with the ball.
Foul shooting problems continue to plague Marquette.
Now for this contest, at times they've been a little bit better at the line, but will that be the case down the stretch? The foul against Marquette. Marquette on the day, 14 out of 21, just slightly better than their 62% season average.
The refs will let you body him. They've said the tone is being physical this game, but they won't let you grab him.
Butler looking for someone to make a move. Here's Alexander. He and Fitzgerald have really been going at it. Pretty good battle the last several minutes. The shot clock at 16.
Late in the clock, West Virginia usually comes up with something. Now look
Alexander turning, spinning in the lane. Short shot, missed it.
Fitzgerald did a wonderful job of staying down, leveling off that drive. Alexander, if he's the best athlete Beeline's ever coached, I can guarantee if Fitzgerald is in the bottom quadrant of Marquette.
Yep. And Fitzgerald, the 6'9" junior out of St. Paul. He was a standout soccer player in Minnesota. He had to be a goalkeeper with that kind of defense.
Tulane transfer. Older is where you want to be, college and pro. That's why the Badgers right up the road, 75 miles away, with two 23-year-old baseline players. The only McDonald red shirt.
Fitzgerald has it blocked by Ruoff. 1 second to shoot. Will they get it off? They did. And the basket will count. They got a little bit fortunate.
Anything loose, long, on the floor. Second shot has been all Marquette today.
Matthews was the man on the spot to lay it in after the deflection with that shot clock dwindling down. Here's Butler. Too strong. Barrow at the rebound. McNeil bounces for Kubian. And West Virginia is a team in need of a timeout.
Dave, you call that before Beeline did. I love it. No, really, you're really emerging as a coach and understanding the game.
Yeah.
You've got shot selection down, defensive rotation, and now you call that timeout. That was a great call.
I'm not ready to move from this seat next to you. Having too much fun. Marquette on top 60 to 45 after Kubian knocks down the triple. Now let's go back to the Fitzgerald defensive stop a few moments ago. You love this effort.
Yes, I do, because he's not half the athlete. But look at how low he stays. Look at him slide his feet. He stays low. He keeps his nose in check. He doesn't bring his feet together on the lateral slide. He puts on a little defensive clinic, which is all about heart.
Marquette living large inside the Bradley Center. And Kubian has come up big. He has 9 points. He's made all 3 of his three-point efforts. Marquette shooting them awfully well today, especially for a team that only shoots about 31% beyond that arc.
And attitudinally, what surprised me, your point is well taken there. Coming off of a loss, I expect West Virginia to play with more of an edge. The edge has been all Marquette today, but it was almost imperative that they win this game at home to stay in the race. They came back from the dead. They were 0-2 in the league, win at Connecticut.
Summers backing down. He's fouled on the play. 8:36 to go.
And they've been in charge of this one all day long.
They really have. And you talked about it in the opening minutes. West Virginia kind of going away from their strength with that 1-3-1 zone being so good for them. Went to man-to-man. McNeil with the theft lays it in. And Marquette just keeps on coming. A foul as well.
Shows you why we put him on Star Watch. He's a terrific defender, made that steal, great driver, finishes that play, takes the contact, and now he gets to his bugaboo foul shooting, but he is the Warriors' best foul shooter. Look at that steal. Look at him take it to the rim. And how about is just, look at that energy and enthusiasm, that team camaraderie.
So another theft on the McStealometer for Jerrell McNeil, the 6'3" sophomore.
That was a fatigue miss. He didn't get his knee bend in there.
Can't complete the three-point play. And Missoula up high for West Virginia.
Can't be too tired to win, though.
Do the Mountaineers have a run in them? And how will it come? Young barely glanced the rim with that three-pointer. Trying to get it all back with one shot. McNeil pumping down that side with Missoula. But they're going to win that battle again as Matthews lays it in.
Set it up with a back dribble. Matthews is so understated. His value is not reflected statistically. He's a heady player.
A foul, and Missoula will be shooting in a moment with 7:46 to go. Marquette in command.
Watch Jerrell McNeil drive this year. He's going to lay the ball off to Matthews, a guy who's a high IQ player. The game makes sense to him. Lays it off. Matthews finishes it. Great job.
Marquette with a big lead, 64-47. We'll see if West Virginia has any life left in them, but second half runs have been huge for this Marquette team. Rick Majerus against Connecticut over the last 7 minutes, a 16-2, and today over the last 4:41, 10-zip against West Virginia.
And the runs primarily consist of two important aspects. aspects of play. Getting into the offensive glass, and then the defensive ball pressure, denial, deflection. West Virginia today, you could tell they were going to be in for a long day. They got no back doors. Credit Marquette with a good strategic plan on deployment on that, but also was shooting the three ball a little early. But the speed of this game has been played at Marquette's liking.
Marquette was buried under a barrage of three balls last year when they faced West Virginia. Not so today. Completely different kind of game. Matthews bumped and fouled by Summers at the foul line. They'll go right back to that strike. But today, West Virginia just 4 for 17 from beyond that arc.
And they've been rushed. They've been early in the clock, and they have not been screen assisted. A guy like Summers gets the Attaboy Award a lot of times for how many screens he sets. He has not set them today. That early foul trouble has really played havoc with Virginia as well.
Summers picking up his fourth. That was not in the act of shooting, they determined. Instead of in the act of passing foul, so 7:20 to go.
Any chance to win here is going to entail a stop and a score.
James dumping it inside for Barrow for the finish. Those two hooking up frequently here in the second half.
Auerbach would probably like the cigar now.
66-48. And West Virginia got hit hard today as Nichols can't find a range beyond three. Alexander banks it in, but they haven't seen enough of Joe Alexander today.
And they haven't seen enough of getting the offensive glass. Now Marquette will slow it down. With that big a lead, they're already playing clock. This is smart here. They got a timeout coming at 4 from the ref.
Holding foul against West Virginia moments ago. James and Barrow hooking up for a dandy.
Look at James with his vision there. And I love the way he delivered the pass. Always pass higher near the rim so the big guy can catch it and in rhythm take it right up. He didn't have to bring it down. The location of that pass was superb.
So with a victory today, Marquette would improve to 15-4. And will record their second consecutive Big East win against a very good opponent, having knocked off UConn earlier in the week. It was on Wednesday night, 73-69. And that snapped UConn's 31-game home court winning streak. And the Marquette faithful just delighted with the effort today. The Golden Eagles keep on coming, up by 18.
I commend them for their game plan, their energy.
Alexander to Smallingen, double up.
See, Alexander should have shot that.
Matthews reaching in. He is charged with the foul. Let's look ahead now for Marquette. We talked about West Virginia's upcoming schedule. Pretty soft for them. And here's Marquette's. They're at Louisville, then at number 7 Pitt, before Seton Hall, South Florida, and Providence, an upstart Friars team, which has surprised everybody.
And beating the Warriors already, but I wouldn't write off a Pitino team. I mean, we know where they won today. If Rick Pitino is anything, he's a competitor. They've had some injuries down there. They've had character go home. Now he's back.
Right now, Pitt and Providence, the lone unbeatens inside the Big East Conference.
And who would have thought it would be Providence?
Yeah.
And UConn coming off of losses. Their 31 home game winning streak broken here by Marquette.
Barrow trying to wriggle free underneath. And it knocked away from him. Nichols pulls it up. Ruoff finds Alexander in the corner. In and out.
It's a great growth game for a young West Virginia team. A team returning only one starter from last year. Alexander is going to be an outstanding player. The guy to keep your eye on is number 1, Deshaun Butler. That kid's going to be very good as well.
James lays it in with the right hand. Boy, he's had a big day against Beeline in West Virginia. Marquette at 51%, well above their season average. Smallingen with good range, in particular for a 7-footer, and Beeline takes a timeout after the basket.
The Butler transfer hits the 3.
70-54. Well, a couple of stars really for Marquette today in Dominic James and Jerome McNeil.
They're 1 and 2 man. Take a look at Dominic James. That began the game. Alertness right there. Classy and clever. How about that crossover? Shades of Jameer Nelson, like we said in Star Wars. Puts down a 3, which he hadn't been hitting. Jerome McNeil We're going to show you attacking the rim, slides off that charge, gets the ball. He finishes as well versus contact in the paint as anyone in the game. This kid really loves a challenge and is not afraid of anyone. He induces contact and commits to a score.
Now McNeil with 11 points, 8 rebounds, 7 assists. Dominic James with 15 points, 6 assists, 5 rebounds, and 5 steals. James in particular all over that stat sheet.
And the best thing about James today, he finally hit the long ball. This had been a team very much struggling with its shooting on the perimeter, faced that vaunted 1-3-1 zone. And now we see the field goal percentage here. How about 51%? 50 from 3. 50 from 3.
Yeah, 6 out of 12.
And the foul shot continues to be a problem. In a close game, that foul shooting is going to cost them. They've got to rectify that before season's end. I mean, before, they get around here to the next game.
Is that something you can do in season? Can you markedly improve your free throw shooting?
And again, it's confidence factor. I think you can do it by analysis in the film room. You can do it by extra attempts, coming early, staying late. Getting to the gym on maybe your off day and just taking 100 of them, going before class.
Alexander with the foul here with 5:06 to play. And maybe hiring Larry Brown. By the way, it's a 5-second violation, no foul. Larry Brown knows how to teach foul shooting.
Well, why is that? You mean because his teams have, I'm sorry.
Yeah, his teams have done very well, but he's been actually brought into a couple of different college programs to help guys out.
I forgot about that.
Up top, Ruoff.
Memphis, you're right, because they credit their foul shooting. Maybe they should get Brown in here.
Ruoff tries to bank it on the leaner. Fouled by Fitzgerald, who is not delighted with the call.
Marquette's had guys like Bill Russell, George Foreman. They bring those guys in to speak to their team. Why not bring Brown in like Memphis did to work with foul shooting on your team?
As
good point.
Yeah.
Dave, I love it. You're emerging as a great coach.
Well,
There's Green. What a good job he did.
Let's not get too crazy. Yeah. Well, Green's certainly in that category of the really fine coaches. And first took the team to the Final Four in 2003 at Marquette.
Yeah, that was really with Dwayne Wade. What a great season they had there. Beating Kentucky up in Minnesota. And they faced Kansas, but nevertheless they got there. First time since 1977 when Marquette won the national championship.
And you were there alongside Al McGuire. One of the great, not just characters, but great originals and great coaches the college game has ever seen.
Great person. The players have a great loyalty to him. Very much more appreciative of, it's not so much the points you scored you remember as really the lessons you learned.
Marvelous sense of humor. You've been regaling us with Al's stories for the last couple of years. We've had the good fortune of working with you. Marquette for the shot clock, down to 5. James hears it from the crowd way downtown. He's had a day.
He needed that. You say, what can you do about shooting? Makes beget confidence.
James with 18 to go along with 5 rebounds and 6 assists. And of course, he's been stealing West Virginia blind from the opening minutes. Another theft. This is Kubian all the way through. And you can turn out the lights on West Virginia. 75-56. Kubian's really helped out. In fact, he hasn't missed a shot. 4 for 4.
Well, I got to tell you, on election night coverage, I called that 4.5 minutes ago because of West Virginia. Let's take a look at this right here. First of all, there's a tale of two cities with coaches. But we're going to come up here with Dominic James, Jameer Nelson on the come. Look at his change of pace here. Look at his speed. Look at him rhythm up. He did a great job there of sizing the opportunity, backing the defense off, and creating room to shoot.
Ron, thank you very much. A 2:10 tip for that one. 75-56. Your score. Marquette with the lead. Playing here in Milwaukee, Rick Majers, for the Golden Eagles, a little bit of a chip on his shoulder because even though this is their home city, of course, they've had great heritage here on the basketball court. Everyone's talking about Wisconsin, right up the road.
And that big interstate rivalry, the war of religion, they lost at home this year to the Badgers. But you got to take your hat off to them. Wisconsin, I feel one of the things that they have done so well is execute. And the reason for that, they have two fifth-year seniors in Ryan Chappell and Orlando Tucker. Probably the only McDonald All-American ever to be redshirted. Fourth-year junior in Brian Butch. Fourth-year senior in Cam Taylor. The only underclassman of consequence in the starting lineup. The only underclassman starting lineup is Flowers, the great defender. They just have a terrific team. But I'll tell you, Marquette has done a good job of getting up off the mat and coming back off those first two losses.
Wiggle off the front of the rim. Another opportunity here for Alexander, who pulls up on Matthews and drains the short jumper.
He, like McRoberts' Duke, has got to become a little bit more score and star-oriented. Sometimes those guys are so unselfish, and he's such a great defender, Alexander, that he's got to want the ball offensively and take shots like he just did in that situation.
Fitzgerald did a very good job on him today as James will collect the foul, the basket, and will go to the line. He has 20.
Watch his change of speed and his crossover dribble. We got him as being like Jameer Nelson. That crossover looked a little bit like Tim Hardaway. This is his best game since Valparaiso, where he scored the last 16 points of a road game for Marquette to win on the road.
77-58. It's been a dominant performance for Marquette. In the second half, they were up by 10 at halftime. A little less than 3 minutes to play here. Summers just fouled out, by the way. West Virginia and Marquette from the Bradley Center. Coach Rick Majerus, the former Marquette head coach, with Dave O'Brien. Great to have you along. This game starting at 11 a.m. locally, so the fans had to get here right after brunch.
My best experience here, though, Dave, was as a student. I got 2 degrees here. Wonderful school, great education. Guys like Father Kelly on the Marquette bench over there. I made great friends here, and you know, I can't say enough about the Marquette education, the Jesuit, the Ignatian discernment policy, and all of the things that I had learned here and developed, and of course Coach McGuire. Of all the great teachers I had here, like the Prukas, the Rileys, the Hatchie, I gotta tell you, Al was the best.
Smith with a leaner, banking that one in for 2. West Virginia down by 18 points. And if you're just joining us, among the many things that Marquette has done well today is shoot the three-pointer. Shoot period at 55%. A team that has not been a good shooting team. And obviously West Virginia had some issues. Their 1-3-1 zone, when they did elect to play it, was not nearly as effective today. They came in 13-2.
And credit Marquette's strategy with that. And they're going to finish it just like they started it. They're going to get second shots. They're going to get to the long balls. They're going to win the hustle board. And this will be a great tape session for West Virginia's very young team to go back and look at. They've got UCLA coming up there. And then they've got the Big East schedule.
Kubiak dishing off to Barrow, but a traveling violation.
Speaking of Wisconsin, by the way, in the Big Ten, how about of all the BCS, the 6 BCS conferences, the Big Ten only is the bottom of it in terms of winning percentage. And really, the Big Ten race with 11 schools is a 2-horse contest. It's simply a race between Ohio State and Wisconsin. Here we see the surprising Pac-10. I think the ACC and SEC are definitely legit. The Big East, to me, now the Big 12 we've got Texas, Oklahoma State coming up this Tuesday. You'll want to tune in for that game.
Tuesday night should be a dandy. Texas with Durant and all those terrific freshmen. One of the most gifted teams in the country. Love to see them in about another 40 days or so. Kubiak drains the 3. They're all falling today for Marquette. 81-60. 8 out of 14 beyond the three-point arc. 57%.
It's all good today. When you have that homecoming, you have all those players back. Somewhere in the great beyond, Al McGuire is smiling.
Missoula weaving his way in. And a foul. Alexander got hit from behind with 1:06 to go. But all over but the shouting here. And again, back to the shooting woes of Marquette. Anything but woeful today. On the left there, you see 31% shooting from 3, 57% today. They've hit their foul shots for the most part, although not over the top in that category. A little bit better than they have done. And Dominic James steps off the floor after a marvelous afternoon. 21 points, 5 rebounds, 6 assists, and 5 steals.
And appropriate for Tom Crean to pull them off as a unit, because I'll tell you what, those 4 young guys over there played as a unit. What's not reflected in the stats today will be Usman Barrow, who did a wonderful job in terms of setting some screens, running the floor, opening up wing jump shots, because he ran down the middle and occupied the transition defense.
9 points, 5 rebounds for Barrow. Kinsella just set a man-sized screen on Missoula. The crowd loved that. So Marquette is even doing that well. 47 seconds left. And the subs on the court here for Marquette. 5 seconds to shoot. Blackledge trying to take it into the paint. Jumps in and missed the bunny. In fact, it never touched the rim. So 20-point game. And Marquette has had it all their way since halftime. And to be honest with you, even before that, that'll be a blocking foul.
And how appropriate this game has been played with such a degree of toughness and intensity that it maintains, even in the waning minutes of a blowout, that all 10 players are giving that kind of effort. There's the face of frustration right there, Coach Beeline. He can't wait to. I hope they got a charter flight so there's a film on it. And believe me, they won't be watching Happy Days reruns.
No, nothing happy about what he's going to be talking about either in just a few minutes.
But that's where you have your greatest growth. You have your greatest growth through failure. Those problems create opportunities.
Well, he knows how to figure it out. Dominic James all smiles today. West Virginia having gone to the Sweet 16 the last 2 years, but about to be hung with their 3rd loss of the season. They'll fall to 13-3, and Marquette will improve to 15-4. A terrific win for the Marquette Golden Eagles on their home floor today.
An appreciative crowd. Congratulations to Marquette. Coach Crean and company had an excellent game plan on a tough 2-day prep.
81-63 the final. Coming up on ESPN College Hoops, Kansas taking on Iowa State. For continuing coverage of this game, check out our post-game extra on ESPN News. This has been a presentation of ESPN, the worldwide leader in sports. For Rick Majerus, I'm Dave O'Brien as we go to Dave Revson, Doug Gottlieb, and Tom Brennan in the studio.